What's up? Welcome in on this Tuesday edition of Lunchtime Live. If you're checking your calendar and you're going, huh? That must mean it's summertime around these parts. Daytime shows Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays throughout the duration of the summer. I even forgot that. I'll share a little story about that along the way. But Vegas Mac, I'm going to ask you how you are, but I got to do this because I feel like this is customary to the show, so... That is the first official beer of the summer. Not only do we write calendars and sun travel dates, we run teams and all kinds of fun stuff on the show. How in the hell are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing well. Yesterday was a little bit of a interesting day in the household. Let's just put it that way. Trying to adjust to the summer way of living. So it's getting there. It's going to take a couple of days. And I got my first round of golf in, so that was good.
What'd you shoot? Like a 46?
No, I shot a 79, which was okay.
There's another Vegas Mac ho-hum 79.
I know.
Be that lucky. Ball travel's nice in the northern parts of Arizona, if you know
Absolutely.
what I'm talking about, especially at this time of year. We've got a million things to talk about, but before we do any of that, I've got two, and we don't do this a lot on the show. We kind of basically just keep it to the kids or whatever, but I got two birthday shout-outs I want to give out today.
All right.
One to our guy Herb from the Herb and Raj podcast.
Oh, my gosh.
Happy birthday, Herb. If you did not catch the show this weekend, they did an entire celebration, as they did for Raj not that long ago, because I believe his birthday was about a month ago. I know I filmed a little clip for them on that, but they did a whole show on Saturday night in their normal After Dark, unhinged, if you will, spot. And the whole show was a tribute to Herb. You got to go check it out, because I was in freaking tears when I watched it back. The second birthday shout-out is to my own father, my old man. And I was gonna gift him a smart TV was my plan, but I can hear him already saying it. I don't need no smart TV because the operator of the TV is not smart. Who are they selling out this game to? Who are they selling out that game to? So happy birthday to my dad.
Happy birthday, Dad.
A lot of the people on the program have had the pleasure of meeting my dad. He is a one of a kind. So here you go, Pop. This one's for you and for Herb. So let's get into some stuff, though, Mac. We've got the ESPN Disney family of networks takeover of finals time. Don't know if I totally love that, but we'll get into that. A beautiful shot of the Riverwalk on my TV right now. Tonight, though, we get it started on the ice with the Vegas Golden Knights in Rallywood to take on Mac's Carolina Hurricanes against Mike's adopted Vegas Knights. We're going to have a bet to make. We've got a lot to talk about. We're a couple weeks away from the U.S. Open. We've got the NFL news that rocked the world yesterday in one form, and then NFL news that we all knew was coming. It was just a matter of time, and a bunch of other stuff going on. So feel free to comment along if you're watching along. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Sign up for our newsletter. Comes out once a week on Tuesdays. You would have gotten it today. You could have got some betting nuggets, some other stuff that's coming up on the show as well. Mac, I'm going to let you start.
All right.
For those of you new, this is now what we like to call Headline Fire. We take some of the headlines, some of the top stories in sports, and we put them into an open-ended Q&A that you are allowed to participate in. Also, we might need your help today. Mac and I are having a hard time settling in our bet for the Stanley Cup Finals. My Knights, his Hurricanes. If you've got a suggestion for what the bet should be between me and Mac, feel free to fire that along. Mac, you take the first salvo from the bowels today.
All right. I went on my little rant last week, and I talked about how the baseball regionals were so much better than March Madness, and they did not disappoint, Mike. What an absolute great weekend! I mean, if you love baseball, that was that was an absolute great weekend. I want to know from the regionals, was there some highlights? I have quite a few, but was there a couple of things that stood out to you in those regionals? Because it was absolutely fire this weekend.
I'm glad somebody was watching it. It'll be my first comment. I did not partake in very much. I did watch a fantastic game last night between Kentucky and West Virginia, who are starting quite the postseason rivalry amongst each other. That was a lot of fun to see in Morgantown. I thought the exchange between Miami fans, Florida State fans, and Florida fans was very entertaining throughout X, Twitter all week, I should say, especially since none of them have made it through to the next round. So I thought that was kind of
Right.
humorous. Florida having two opportunities to knock off Troy as a nationally ranked Florida team, failed to knock off Troy in their home ballpark in two games. And on top of that, they looked nothing close to the word competitive in those two games. I think the funniest thing that I've found, Mac, and this is, it supports your argument. I don't know why this year. Maybe it's just because we're changing so many things with the show, and I've been so distracted on, making sure we're in line to do those other things. I think that's probably Supers is usually more where I dive in, but I like to watch a little bit of the regionals, just to kind of get a feel of what's going on. I think it's hilarious that we're looking at a scenario where we've got four teams that have never played in the College World Series, and of course I can't find this in front of me right now, but we've got four teams that have never played in the College World Series, and because of who's left in the Supers that are coming up, one of those teams is guaranteed that they're going to win a game in Omaha, let alone showing up for the first time. So I know not to the exciting level like you. I will probably start to dive in a little bit more this weekend, but I know you've got a couple on your list, so lay them on me here. I'll let you know
So,
if I saw it or not.
so a couple of things that are kind of interesting, just so people know the top ranked UCLA Bruins, and they were just about number one throughout the entire year. Did not make it out of the regionals in their home stadium, losing to St. Mary's a couple of times. Neither did the number two team, Georgia Tech. And so let's think about that for a second. And again, we're trying to, I kind of was relating this to basketball. Imagine the number one overall seed and the number two overall seed not making it to the Sweet 16. That's kind of what we're talking about here. It's and playing not on their home fields as well. So think about that. Look at it this way. That would be like
Hmm.
Michigan playing all of their tournament games in Michigan and not getting out of the first weekend. That's how crazy this is. There were a couple other things that were interesting to me this weekend. We had a lot of ejections, and so this was kind of one of my questions to you. We had a couple of guys miss or get ejected from games for over excessive celebrations or just because they were pissed off. Um, what are your thoughts on this? Should they be a little bit bigger rope to some of these kids, or is it just as we saw with Major League Baseball, just kind of let's leave the shenanigans aside?
Um, I know specifically, and I can't remember the kid's name off the top of my head. One of the ones that you're talking about is Arizona State's
Yes.
superstar slugger who got ejected because he reacted to a strike that he didn't agree with and flipped his bat up in the air. I'm sorry, at any level of
It was
baseball, you deserve to get ejected for being an ass clown in that situation.
Yeah, that was Landon Harrison.
Yeah, and who is the number 6 overall prospect right now, if I remember, at all levels.
Right.
I I mean, I get the emotion of the situation, and I get you want all the best players to be on the field, but there's two things you can't do in sports. Absolutely cannot do in sports, and Brendan Sorsby is kind of learning this lesson right now as we speak. You cannot gamble on sports, especially sports you're playing on, and number two, you can't show up an official or an umpire. Now, it's funny because when we watch like an NBA game, we see it happen all the time, and there's a lot longer leashes in like an NBA playoff game than there is in a lot of stuff. But those are the two things you absolutely can't do. So, does it suck to see a top prospect in all of college baseball getting pulled off the field? Sure, it does. But when you act like an ass clown and flip your bat 10 feet into the air because you didn't like a call, I'm the funniest part about Harrison's ejection was that they had to have a conference and ejected him after the conference. My question to the home plate umpires: what the hell are you watching, dude? Like, why was he not bounced the second the bat left his hand?
Right.
So that was the thing. So I think they kind of gave him a leash there where he didn't deserve to have a leash.
Yeah, and there were a couple of, there's just one other incident that kind of all the good things, it was kind of interesting. And this happened with NC State. They ended up losing on a pitch clock violation. And not only, no, and here's the thing, not only did it end their season, it ended their a career of their head coach, Elliot Avent. It was his last season, and that's how he goes out. And obviously he was pretty pissed. But again, that's one of those things. Again, I think a little bit of lenience there would have been okay.
Yeah, and I saw some of the. I didn't dive totally into it, but it seems like this is a regular thing for him now, and I don't remember his name, and I don't really care to know his name, but the Coastal Carolina baseball coach, who's kind of made it a point to whine and bitch at everything that happens at this time of year. This is 2 years in a row. Last year, if I
Right.
remember correctly, it was a little bit of a heated exchange between him and the Gators staff, if I remember correctly, about the way some of that stuff was handled. So, I'll dive more into it this weekend. But yeah, if you're gonna act like an ass clown, you deserve to get bounced. A pitch clock violation, that sucks, but it is what it is, man. It's not like hey, welcome to the College World Series process here. Here's the regionals, and oh, by the way, you're gonna deal with a pitch clock. It's not like they didn't freaking know.
I know. I know.
Does it
I
suck?
know.
Sure, it sucks, but it is what it is.
But I will tell you, overall, it was absolutely great baseball. Lot of good, a lot of teams getting upset. A lot of good baseball. Supers are good, but that first weekend really, really, I love that first weekend.
Yeah, and we'll keep you up to date as to what's going on there as we get a little bit closer this week. We also have the Belmont Stakes, and Mac, it's good. I'm glad you brought that up because if people aren't processing this properly, this is June, people. Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, Women's College World Series, which has been fantastic. You want to talk about some off the field drama and that stuff? It's been amazing. You've got the finals to the French Open. You've got the World Cup. You've got the U.S. Open, the Men's College World Series, the NBA Draft, the NHL Draft, Wimbledon, and the Commissioner's Cup in the WNBA. That's all in the month of June.
I just a small aside. You didn't comment on my text that I sent you guys a little bit this weekend. You know how I hate horses, and we were going on a just out the
I
other
do
day.
remember seeing that.
Yes, and we saw a wild horse, and my wife stopped the car, and we were like face to face with the wild horse. I about flipped out, man.
I would have much rather preferred somebody within your vehicle to have a camera on you during that moment.
I know. I should have, but it was kind of a funny thing. Anyway,
We will. I have. Obviously, I'm always in contact with our horse whisperer. We will have some Belmont Stakes predictions for you on Thursday's show, which will be the only time this week all three of us are together, as we'll get TJ back and move into our summer schedule here. All right, Mac. Let's keep it in a baseball theme. We've started the month of June. And man, were there some teams that are like, thank God it's June, because good Lord, May was downright atrocious for a lot of these teams. So I ask you, now that we've seen a little bit of movement at the major league level as far as managers go, which manager do you think might be in danger of not being employed by their respective team by the end of the month of June? Because I think there's a couple of guys that right now have got to be looking over their shoulder all over baseball. Do you have one that you would be concerned for the future of their job with their current team?
I mean, there's a couple of things. I think Kansas City is a spot that I would look at. I think that is an issue. That team is performed a whole lot worse than what was kind of expected. But Matt Quattro, I mean, he just signed an extension in January. I think it was like a 3-year extension. So, he may have a little bit of a rope there. I think that's kind of the if the Mets haven't done it already, then they're just not going to make that change. So I don't see anything there. Other than that, that's really the hottest seat that I can really tell. I think in Kansas City, I don't think people will point to Detroit with AJ Hinch, but I just think they're having a bad year. I don't think that's going to be enough to get rid of AJ Hinch.
6-22 were the Tigers in the month of May. You mentioned the
Uh,
Royals here, and they went through a stretch last week where they were outscored 31-1 in 3 games, between 2 of them against the Yankees, and then a 9-1 loss to the Rangers. Then they went on to lose 7-6, 6-3. More on the series they played with the Rangers a little bit later. They did get a 9-2 victory last night to get off the schneid there. But yeah, that Kansas City team is miserable, and Matt Cortero is probably the guy I'd put on the top of that list right now as far as guys that should be looking over their shoulder. And I don't think AJ Hinch is safe here. I think
no,
what we're about to see from the Tigers in the next 6 weeks here is going to be a little eye opening, because I think it's very easy to say at this point, Mac, that there's no way in hell that the Tigers are going to give Tarek Skubal a $400 million contract, because if they were going to, they would have already. I still think he ends up in New York with the Mets, and I think the Mets are the team that will give him a $400 million contract.
ooh, that'd be interesting to see the Mets spending more money to go absolutely nowhere. I heard a couple of places. I don't know that they would give him the money, and I think that's going to be interesting to see like how that all plays out. Do they trade him to somebody who is a contender this year that probably isn't going to give him the money? I get CC Sabathia vibes, and I think of like the Milwaukee Brewers, who are now 5.5 games up in the Central. When you remember, CC went to the Brewers that one year and had an amazing run. And like I could see them. They always have good young talent to give. I don't think that they would sign him, but I could see that
Mm-hmm.
that would be a good push for them.
Yeah, the Brewers definitely loaded with talent, and the CC thing is a great comparison there, because I believe it was Eric Karros on the color of last night's pasting of the Brewers, or pasting of the Giants by the Brewers, and he said it, and he goes, I'm sure Milwaukee's ownership and management won't like me saying this, but you owe it to the fans and you owe it to the players on this field to make that one big move or two big moves that might work. And in Milwaukee's case, you nailed it. They're not going to give Tarek Skubal a $400 million contract. So what's he worth to you this year as far as a rental to give up some of those prospects? As we know, they have the number one prospect in all of baseball right now in Jesus Mate. But where do you play him is the question on that team. So I think I do agree with Karros a little bit there. If you're in Milwaukee, you've got to do it the way you have to do it, with the way you run your franchise. But there's depth there of your prospects. What's it worth to you? And does Tarek Skubal push you to a World Series appearance? Which, for a team in Milwaukee, you imagine going into a playoff series against the Brewers, and you've got to deal with Mizorowski and freaking Tarek Skubal amongst the other pitchers that they have there, and a guy in the Miz who they asked him about his month of May, where he had, I think, an 0.32 or an 0.23 ERA. I don't remember exactly, but it was sub 0.5.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, it was okay. And they're like, dude, you were at like an 0.32 or whatever the number was. And he goes, yeah, it was okay. Like, he's on a different level right now. They're getting so much from so many people. I'm very fascinated by what the Brewers do and how they handle the next 6 to 8 weeks here as we approach the trade deadline and the start of the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the Milwaukee Brewers are kind of becoming the Tampa Bay Rays of the National League. It's like every year they get rid of somebody, a good frontline pitcher, or somebody along the line, and they just seem like they get better and better every single year. It's a tribute to them and to what they've been able to do and what they've been able to build there. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be when you have a dominant pitcher like Mizorowski. I mean, the biggest question with him is going to be, how is he going to go through the wear and tear of the season? He's never pitched what he would end up pitching. I mean, you think he's already hit his career high in innings pitched. When we're just at the 1/3 part of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how they monitor him and how they get him through the whole rest of the season. So there's still a lot of question marks. I don't think that Central Division's anywhere close to being decided.
No, not at all. And we'll get more into baseball as we go around the diamond at the bottom of the program today. Fire away, Mac.
All right. Let's do this. This is kind of interesting. Excuse me. Tom Brady. All choked up. Yeah, I'm talking about Tom Brady. I'm getting all choked up. Tom Brady made a comment the other day about practice squad players. And he said that practice squad players don't really want to make the team. They just kind of enjoy being practice squad players. So, Mike, I'm going to put you in a situation here. I've got three, I'll call them jobs. Let's just put it this way. And I'd like to know which one of these three you would actually like to do. And so the first one is what we're talking about. One is an NFL practice squad player. Now, again, you would have a chance if you were good enough, you could actually make the actual squad and maybe play in a true NFL game. So there's that part. So that's scenario A. Give that a second to kind of think about that one. Number two, would you like to be the emergency goalie in the NHL? The guy that sits there and in case, the goalies all get hurt and he has to just come out and be a goalie in a real game. That would be scenario number two. Or scenario number three, not really a player, but a bullpen catcher in baseball. That would be your job. So I kind of put them under jobs, because none of them are real steady. NFL practice squad player, emergency goalie in hockey, or a baseball bullpen catcher. Which would be your calling?
My calling? This might be the weirdest damn question you've ever asked me on this show. I would have to go with the practice squad player. I mean, if I never get called up to the active roster, I'm going to make 250 G's. In some of these cities, that's kind of hard to rent a place in because of the way the world is right now. I sound like Latrell Sprewell. You know how hard it is to feed your family on $50 million? But if you're like 3 years plus, you get a little bit of a bump there. So you're anywhere from like $330 to $500,000 a year. Obviously, if you get elevated once, you get whatever the active player game check is for that rate or for that week, which is significantly higher. So you can make your whole worth in 1 week there. Bullpen catcher, I'd be bored out of my freaking mind. I can't imagine the pay is too great there, and it'd be boring as hell. The emergency backup goalie, hell no. I can't skate, first of all. And second of all, no. I'm not getting peppered from guys like Kale McCarr and insert player's name here, Zach Werenski, your new Norris Trophy winner as of this morning. I'd go with the practice squad player because $250,000 to kind of get hit and practice a little bit, like that seems to work for me. I would be pretty sure that there'd be some other perks. I mean, hell, you could start your own podcast, like Tales from the Practice Squad. I mean, you could probably turn it into a nice little career there.
There you go.
You would probably be a bullpen catcher because it would be right up your alley.
Without a doubt. I mean, you're just warming guys up. Other than that, you're watching the game. You catch a bullpen here and there. I mean, absolutely, that would be the way to go.
All right. I'm going to talk about guys in football, since we were just talking about football, that actually have jobs. Yes. Drake May, Caleb Williams, or Bo Nix. Which one of those three quarterbacks is under the most pressure to make a big jump this year for their respective team?
Oh, man. I mean, you could there's kind of in each, that's a tough one. In each way, they all, I would have to say Bo Nix. I'm going to say Bo Nix because I still think that even though Denver had a really good season, they did not have the postseason that they wanted to or needed to have. And even through the year, there was a lot of questions about Bo Nix. I mean, yeah, they were winning games, but they were winning games ugly, and I don't know that they were actually winning games because of Bo Nix. And I know that's probably the way the Broncos like it to be. They don't need their quarterback to win, but I think you do need your quarterback to win, especially if you're going to win a Super Bowl. So I think that would be why I would go with Bo Nix. Actually, Caleb Williams, obviously his next step is they've got to get to the Super Bowl. That's got to be their next step. They were that close already, but they've got to make that next jump to the Super Bowl. And kind of Drake May's the same way. Now that he's got a new guy to throw the ball to, there'll be maybe a little less pressure on him. We'll have to wait and see. But I think overall, Bo Nix has to be better for the Broncos to get where they need to be.
I think that's a fair assessment. I'm looking at Caleb Williams because of how that division is, because of the success of the Bears last year with Ben Johnson and all the excitement and hype that was around them. I think Bo Nix is going to be just fine. I would have liked to have seen that AFC title game with a healthy Bo Nix on the field there. Drake May is in that situation that I kind of brought up a couple of weeks ago. Like, we love to laud these guys when they come out right away and they have a huge, early year, whether it's first year or in that case, second year kind of thing, and new coach. So it was kind of like a first year for everything last year. Obviously, there's been plenty of distractions off the field for the Patriots. We'll get a little bit more into them here in just a second. But I think Nix is the guy that I feel the least pressured to do anything different than what he's done. There's still questions, but he's still a young quarterback. What up, Shy? Thanks for checking in, man. I think Bo Nix is fine, and you know what I think of Bo Nix anyways, so maybe that's a little slighted, but I think Caleb Williams first, May 2nd, and Nix third is how I'd go through that list there. What do you got for me?
Let's stay with football. Do the New York Jets, Jets, make the playoffs in the next three? Make the playoffs in the next 3 years.
The Jets. Ugh. No, they're the Jets. I think it's hilarious. You want to talk about life coming full circle for you? Let's talk about the Jets here for a second.
Yeah.
That Russell Wilson, Big Russ, Dangerous, cringeworthy quote Russ, decided that he didn't want to stare full circle in his NFL career in the face. He had a chance to be Geno Smith's backup with the Jets, and he decided, I'm going to go on CBS and take Matt Ryan's job and be cringeworthy, as he always is, for America with all his stupid sayings and his just awkward nature. And that's hilarious to me. No, I'm not going to back up Geno Smith on the Jets. I was asked for the Giants last year, so I'm going to go into TV, but I'm not going to retire just in case some other franchise is dumb as hell like Denver was and wants to overpay me. So good on him for the decision there. But the Jets are still the Jets. And until I see the Jets get close to 9-8 or 8-9, I'm not going to believe that the Jets are any different than the Jets that we know. They're just one of those franchises that has no direction. If you're a Jets fan, you're still hoping that Gary Vaynerchuk actually buys the Jets like he's talked about for years, being one of his life goals there. They're the Jets, so no, I have zero faith in the Jets making the playoffs anytime in the next 3 years. And that includes with probably Arch Manning as their quarterback after next year. And I hope that doesn't happen because I'd like to see Arch go somewhere that he's got a decent chance. He could also end up in Cleveland now, too, because Cleveland has a couple of extra picks that they didn't have before yesterday. Did anybody, and this kind of leads me into my next question, I guess, here. Did anybody in sports have a worse day yesterday than Jared Verse? For those of you that are living under a rock, in case you didn't notice, Myles Garrett now plays for the Rams. Jared Verse now plays for the Browns as Garrett finally gets traded. So I ask you, Mac, take somebody that's new to football and explain to them exactly what's happening right now with the Los Angeles Rams, because why would we even play the games next year? They're going to walk away with the Super Bowl in their home stadium. Explain it to somebody that doesn't know football. What's happening with the Rams?
Okay, so everybody has a job that they like, and then at the end of when you are about ready to be in your final year, they have a lot of retirement stuff, retirement parties, and you get all kinds of gifts, and people speak well of you, and laud all of the accomplishments that you did. This is going to be the Los Angeles Rams this year. They have a quarterback who's very well could be in his last year. They're going to play the big football game in their stadium, and the NFL is going to pave their way to the Super Bowl so that we can have this ginormous retirement party come February.
I don't think you're far off there. I mean, I really don't. And the big question that's swirling around after this happened yesterday, nobody in the NFL had a better day yesterday than the quarterbacks in the AFC North, specifically Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, because Myles Garrett's gone. So the details of the trade, just in case you missed it: a first-round pick in 2027, a second in 2028, a third in 2029, and Jared Verse to Cleveland in exchange for Myles Garrett. One of the first things that came out and has been gaining some steam, and Pat McAfee reached out today to Aaron Donald to ask him exactly what we're all wondering. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. Aaron Donald has made it no point has not failed to make it a point that he is continually ready to go. And does Aaron Donald come out of retirement now to play with Myles Garrett, which would make that D-line for the Rams even freaking scarier right now? From a flip, and I don't think anybody's really talking about this side of it, Mac, we know Cleveland's probably still not going to be any good next year. We just talked about the Jets. Let's just move locations and talk about the same kind of situation, shall we? What Cleveland might be able to do with the haul that they got and their own shitty position that they're going to be in at the end of this year could be pretty monumental as far as turning this franchise going forward. So if you were to ask me a question again about the Jets, comparing them to the Browns, I actually have a little more faith in the Browns being better going forward if they are able to turn this into, hey, we want the number one pick, we want our guy, and another Manning doesn't say I'm not playing in X city. I'd be more positive in my thoughts if I was a Browns fan today than I would be a Jets fan. I mean, you're saying which turd is better in that example. I understand that, but it is what it is. I'm fascinated by this, and I know we're going to get more into it, but I mean, I asked you this specific question, I think a week ago, when Stafford signed his extension. Would he play both years of the extension, and would he or would he not? I think the Rams know he's probably not playing that second year of that contract, and that's why we're seeing them do exactly what they're doing.
It was quite interesting because the one thing that I got from from that trade, and it actually now the pick. Let's go to the Rams. Their draft pick. Who did they pick? They picked a quarterback. A little bit of a controversy as far as why they picked a quarterback, especially in the first round. But now, knowing that their thought was they kind of knew that they were going to make this trade. They knew that they weren't going to have a first round pick next year. That's why they went ahead and made the quarterback selection that they did in this year's draft. Now you look at that and we were all kind of, whoa, why would you make this pick? Now that actually kind of makes a little more sense, doesn't it?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense why the Rams and the Golden Knights have the success they do, because they're the same theory. F them picks. Yeah, listen to this. Since 2017, the Rams have made just two first-round picks. 2024, Jared Verse, who's now a Brown. T's and P's and thoughts and well wishes to him for moving to Cleveland. And then the Ty Simpson pick that you just mentioned. So from 17 to 27, two first-round picks. One of them they've traded. Wow. One of them they think might be the quarterback of the future. The results, thanks to our guy Warren Sharp on X, 92 and 57 since 2017. The second best record in the NFC behind only the Eagles. 7 playoff trips, a Super Bowl championship. And a lot of people, and if you look at the betting numbers, they are clearly the favorite to win the Super Bowl next year at 6-1.
Absolutely.
How lucky is the NFL that they get to ship a game to freaking Australia, and it's got Myles Garrett trying to chase down Brock Purdy, who's been able to elude quarterback sacks better than any quarterback since he's been around. Man, if you're in the NFC West right now, and your name's not the Cardinals, it's going to be an absolute freaking bloodbath between the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last year. We always said that it may be the best division in football, and it looks like it's only getting better and better as the day goes. So,
yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
all right. Time to put on your GM hat. I got a GM Mike segment for you. Here, we ready? Looking for it. There we go.
That's not going to work.
All right.
Go for it.
All right, here we go. This GM Mike segment is, since tonight's first night of the Stanley Cup, let's go with hockey. I got a couple of players for you. Where do these players end up? Alex Ovechkin.
Same place he's always been.
Okay. No change. He's not going to go anywhere. How about this one?
I don't think he's retiring. I've said that a couple of times. I think if he was going to retire, he would have already. I think the only place he goes is Washington.
All right. John Carlson.
That's an interesting one because there's going to be a lot of suitors. And, Mac, we've talked about this a few different times here. The free agent pool this year is not what it's been in the past. I think we're going to see more trades than others. But if I'm looking at a list right now, I've got Darren Radish, I've got Rasmus Anderson, and John Carlson. Those are your three best defensemen that are going to be available. I know there is a team specifically that would love to take John Carlson away from Anaheim within that division that desperately needs defensive help, just a little north of Anaheim. I think the Ducks are going to do everything they can to bring him back, but I think there's a number that the Ducks don't want to go over. So I don't know if I can give you an answer on John Carlson right now, but I would expect after the Darren Radish domino falls that John Carlson is not far behind.
All right, here we go. How about this one? He did not have a very good last playoff series. Alex Tuck.
I think he stays in Buffalo. I think the situation there is strike while the iron's hot. We already saw that they extended Lindy Ruff. I think they're going to do everything in Buffalo that they absolutely can. I think Tuck and I think Logan Stanley, another one that they have on the free agent board there, is another guy that I think they're going. I think Buffalo doesn't want to mess with what they got, and the Tuck disappearance in that series against Montreal was an anomaly, not what they think of Tuck. So I think he stays in Buffalo.
All right, having a pretty darn good playoff run, Frederik Andersen, Carolina.
No way in hell they let him leave. Not a chance in hell. If you're, and I know, and you've talked about this a lot, and obviously we're going to get more into the Canes and the Knights here in just a little bit, but they've got Bussy there and they've got options, but I think with the run he's on right now, he can write his check and his ticket anywhere, and I don't think it leaves Raleigh, North Carolina. By
the way, that was kind of we'll get into it. It was kind of an emotional part with him and everything that happened. Last one I got for you, Sergei Bobrovsky, Florida. Does he stay? Do they go?
The Florida thing's an interesting thing because we know we could chalk up their year to a couple of long playoff runs in a row, multiple long playoff runs in a row. And when 90% of your team in front of you is not getting the job done, it makes you look subpar. And I think that's exactly what we had in Florida this year. He's going to come with a big ticket. I know he's going to be a guy that we're going to talk about quite a bit here. There's obviously other teams that, need goaltending. I would honestly, here you go. I didn't even have to say it before our guy You Got Rods threw it up there. I think that's a very high possibility. I think if you're Edmonton, you absolutely have to make a run at the guy that kept you from winning Stanley Cup 2 times there. It'll be interesting to see what Florida wants to do with that situation because, again, he is going to come at a high ticket price. But we've already heard about it and we've talked about it, and guys want to play in Vegas. Guys want to play in Florida. Guys want to play in Tampa for obvious reasons. And then culture is a big part of that. Everybody wants to go, oh, it's the no state tax thing, blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's the culture that these organizations have. And I'd be shocked if the Bob Wall was wearing a different sweater next year.
There you go. All right. That wraps up that segment of GM Mike.
All right, let's go to the top of the American League West, which has been just eyeball burning all year. The Seattle Mariners have finally retaken their spot atop the West. 7 wins in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. They have a 2.5 game lead over the sub 500 Rangers, followed closely by the sub 500 A's, and 5 games ahead of the sub 500 Astros, and a lot of games ahead of the sub 500 Angels, who lost quite a game last night. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to the crowd at Angel Stadium last night. The Angels are playing the Rockies. It's a random Monday. California schools are all now just starting to get out for the summertime. Dude, the building was rocking last night. There was, if I remember correctly, of 27K was the announced attendance. Whether or not that was actually it, I don't know, because as often happens at Angel Stadium, there's a lot of open seats. Wild frigging game last night. The Angels are up 5-2 after the third inning. They end up losing the game 9-8 because they got outscored 5-2 in the 8th inning alone. A guy who we thought, had a decent shot early in the season at maybe a Cy Young run, and his numbers aren't horrible now, but he hasn't looked the same. 7 walks last night for Soriano, including a hit with a hit batsman, so 8 walks in 4 2/3. And they talked about it on the broadcast last night. Like it took a lot for them because they weren't able to get him past the 5th inning. And finally, Fermin comes in and he gives up the big number there. But the crowd last night in Anaheim, and as TJ calls it, Mac, they're in the sell the team era. So that was a lot of the chants. I will say this: I can't repeat most of the chants that I heard. They were very creative last night. So whatever the Angels are doing to bring people to the ballpark to watch a shitty baseball team has been fantastic. Long way away from what I started to ask you here. The Seattle Mariners now, is this where they will stay for the rest of the year? And are they now just kind of getting into the swing of things? Because I noticed something with the Mariners that I thought was interesting. Remember, we were a bunch of big dumb idiots the other night, or last year, when we started talking about 6-man rotations. It's been kind of interesting to see what the Mariners have done with their rotation, because if I remember correctly, it was Sunday's game against the Diamondbacks. Trying to pull up the box score here.
I think it was with Castillo.
Yep. And they're what they're doing with Castillo now that they've gotten all of their guys kind of back healthy is they're rolling Miller out to start the game, and then they're rolling Castillo out to finish the game. They did it Sunday. It won again for them. Seems like the Mariners have really figured some stuff out. Do the Mariners stay atop the West for the rest of this season? Longest question in the history of questions.
Yeah. I really think they will. I mean, we talked about the Astros and their inability to pitch this year. Neither the Rangers or the Athletics can seem to have any momentum at all. They just can't seem to get it going. And the one thing, even though the Mariners' offense has been better lately, because of their pitching, they don't need to be an offensive juggernaut. They just need to be average. If they're an average offensive team, I think this team will win because they can pitch the heck out of the ball. And they still, like Julio Rodriguez, I still don't think he's tapped his potential. He's having a good year, but I don't think it's anything near what they thought. They got some good young talent that they brought up that's kind of infused that lineup a little bit. I mean, I've always liked the Mariners. I've liked them the last couple of years. But I think that's what they'll say. I can't imagine any of those teams catching them. The only team that I think would be the Athletics if the Athletics get on some sort of weird, really hot offensive surge. But other than that, I think this is Seattle's division to lose.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, and I had high hopes for the Mariners at the beginning of the year. That's why I put them in the World Series, and I think after a rough start, this is what we're going to see. They did lose Josh Naylor last night, exited the game after his home run with back spasms. So that'll be something to watch. But, you got Ross checking in, Colt Emerson, a guy we weren't expecting to see yet. He's looked really good. Their young players that they have brought up are contributing. And let's just call a spade a spade. The rest of that division sucks ass. So, no, I don't feel like anybody is going to put any pressure on them from behind. All right, I'm going to finish with a golf question, but I'll give you one more fire away here before I get to my golf question. And then after that, we'll get into our Stanley Cup Finals preview with Game 1 tonight from Raleighwood.
All right. My question, I'm going to make it really, really simple. Mike, is the Pac-12 back? New Pac-12, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, so on and so forth. Are you excited about Pac-12 football?
I am. Growing up on the West Coast, Pac-12 was just a part of life for me, even not being a fan of anybody in the Pac-12, because growing up, Cal and Stanford were miserable, and I chose a different pathway for my college fandom. I'm excited to see it because they're doing some really quirky things with the schedule. They've got a contract with CBS Sports Network and the USA Network, so more accessibility. There wasn't really a whole lot to grab to gravitate to this new Pac-12, but if we get Pac-12 After Dark back, as Big 12 After Dark has kind of taken that over a little bit, but Pac-12 always brings us wild games. It's going to be interesting to see if I just pick a random day on the schedule here. Let's go to week 7 for the Pac-12 and look entirely at their schedule. Thursday, you've got Colorado State at Texas State, which is classic for CBS Sports Network. And then on that Saturday, you've got Washington State, Oregon State, Fresno State at San Diego State. So I think, is it going to get any national attention? Not really, because you don't really have a team that's going to be consistently a threat to get into the college football playoff in whatever iteration we're in. But I'm excited to see it back, and hopefully they can slide a team in there. Maybe Mick Cronin can go to the powers that be at UCLA and go, hey, how much easier? I don't have to see the Empire State Building so many times and all this stuff. I can just go see the planes in Texas while we're flying over for a 9:00 game. I'm excited to see it back. I don't have high hopes from a football standpoint. From a basketball standpoint, man, if you're San Diego State, you got to be chomping at the bit in that conference.
No joke. So, fine. We'll get some, and don't forget, when basketball season comes, we throw Gonzaga into the mix as well.
Woof. All right. We've got the U.S. Open a couple weeks away. Aaron Rise PGA Championship win, Mac, made it 12 straight years of first-time major winners, and we kind of talked about this with Larry from Tom and Marty's last week. 12 straight years of first-time major winners. 2 years prior to this, so last year and the year before that, we only saw one first-timer win. Most of those years, we've seen at least 2. 3 of those years, we saw 3 first-time major winners. So we have 2 majors left on the docket. The U.S. Open in a couple weeks, the Scotty Slam from Shinnecock, and then obviously the Open Championship. Do we have more than one first-time winner in those 2 events for the end of the year, or is Aaron Rai going to be the flag bearer for first-time major winners this year?
I think we'll get one at the Open Championship. I don't think we'll get one at the U.S. Open. I think the U.S. Open is. I potentially see this as being a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of the big names. I think you're going to see at that U.S. Open. So I think the Open Championship. I think that one. And that's just a lot of sense because of the field. That field is. You get a lot more international players in that field than you do even at the U.S. Open. I think that one has potentially to give us another first-time champion.
I agree with you. I think we're going to get a first-time major champion at the U.S. Open. I would say the U.S. Open for me more than the Open Championship. I really need that because let's be honest here. This thing's already over in Mike versus Matt. But if my first-time major champion winner wins the U.S. Open, I'm going to be fine.
I think the winner will be someone who has not won the U.S. Open before. At least I think so. Scotty Scheffler. I think Scotty's going to win. And I haven't put him on the board yet, but I just got to type him in. But
yeah, I don't know what you're waiting for. You've already seen
either.
2 of my 3 picks for the U.S.
Yeah, I
Open.
know.
I put them down a couple of weeks ago. So one of them I know you can't use, and to be honest with you, I just stuck my claim on the other one. So Mike versus Mac will be out tomorrow. Let's go to the ice. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight from Raleighwood. Golden Knights and Hurricanes. 13 games to get here for the Canes. 16 games to get here for the Knights, but they're obviously coming off of that 4-game sweep of Colorado. I hope people understand just the gravity of what this Stanley Cup final is, how good both of these teams are. If you go back the last 30 years, Mac, Carolina and Vegas have 5 combined losses entering the Stanley Cup finals. That is the fewest, passing Detroit and Pittsburgh from 2008, and a host of teams at 7 combined losses going in. I don't know at this point if there's enough people, and I know we're going to talk about this with T on Thursday a little bit, about how Gary Bettman's great first round is not leading to great third rounds, and get into some of those numbers here. But I don't know if a lot of people appreciate how damn good these 2 teams are, and we really got the best 2 teams going right now, in my opinion, headed into the Stanley Cup Finals. Your initial thoughts now that the matchup is finally here?
Yeah, and I mean Carolina has, and they were at around the top of the Eastern Conference the entire year, so no surprise there. Vegas, we know, didn't have a really good regular season, but as we said, good coaching, veteran players, much better goaltending has got them where they need to be. So. This is a Golden Knights team I mean, it's a franchise that's just been blessed, since year one. I mean, year one, they come in, they go to the Stanley Cup championship, they lose. A few years later, they go and they win one, and now they're back again. So it's like, they're like on a 3-year rotation. Every 3 years, they're getting into the finals.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's also why a lot of people hate the Knights. I cannot wait until puck drop tonight. I think it's going to be wild. I think it's going to be an incredible scene. One of my favorite things about this final, because I am a child here, as most people know, is what we're going to get before any of these games actually start in the finals. It's our first ever crank-off, Mac. Are you excited for the first ever crank-off in the Stanley Cup Finals? If you're unfamiliar of what I'm talking about, I was going to post it for you, but I can't. As we know, before the games in Carolina, there is a hurricane sounder that has to be cranked up top, and the Knights use the same thing. It's a crank-off. Doesn't that make you excited?
No, be honest. I mean, I think anyway. I just.
You think you want to leave that one alone because it's going to open the box?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't. To me, I like listening to the national anthems. Other than that, I usually don't put the game on until I know it's already started. I don't need all of that. That doesn't like even as a fan, like if I'm there, if I'm not excited to be at game 1 of the Stanley, I don't need a guy turning a sound machine thing to get me fired up. That just does not do it for me.
No fun, Mac. Let's go into some X factors here. I'll start with you. Give me an X factor for the Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Can they handle Carolina's pressure, the forecheck? And that's basically what it's been. Carolina is about pressure. It's about maintaining control of the puck. It's about putting volumes of shots on and near the net. And as we saw in every round, the ability for them to not let the team get out of their other team's offensive zone, if you will. It goes to the defensemen. And this is where I think Vegas's defensemen are big. They're strong. It's probably the best defensive core that Carolina's seen. And the pressure is going to be on the Vegas defensemen to be able to handle that pressure and get that puck out of the zone and get things moving to the other end of the ice.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me that I would consider It's two parts with me with the Knights. Like, and Jared Bednar said this after the Knights swept the Avalanche, that the Knights just turned themselves into basically what he said, a buzzsaw. And they beat Colorado at Colorado's game. And I think the adaptability of the Knights has made them what they have been, that and the play of obviously of Carter Hart. But for me, the X factor here is Mitchell Marner. It absolutely is Marner. He's been fantastic for them. You can see a difference in his game being outside of Toronto, obviously in Vegas. And I know T's mentioned this a bunch of times this year. He doesn't have to do a lot for Vegas, but he still does, and he's playing just this free brand of hockey. I'm really excited to see him getting this opportunity and seeing what he's done with it. So if you're Vegas, Mitch Marner's kind of X Factor A for me. X Factor B is, can you beat Carolina at their game, which we've talked about this a lot with the way both of these goaltenders are. You mentioned Freddie Anderson off the top, and we've talked a lot about Carter Hart. It's like the way these two teams suffocate you defensively and the way they protect in front of their netminders is huge here. I think the styles are so similar here. It makes for such a fascinating final, especially between two really, really good teams. Now I'll start with you on the flip side. An X factor for the Carolina Hurricanes. Your Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, I think Carolina just needs to stay consistent. This is the way that they've played from game one. No matter how their season has gone, no matter losing game one to Montreal, they've stayed true to who they are. So if they can stay consistent and stay true to who they are, I think they're going to be fine. I would love for them to get a little more support from their top line with Aho and Jarvis. I would like to see them be able to score a little bit more. But I think if Carolina stays consistent, I think they're going to be they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, for me, it's the top line of Carolina. And we know we've talked about it a lot. We've talked about the depth and what they're getting from like Hall and Stankoven and even Ehlers at the right times in this postseason. I don't think Carolina can play this series and win this series without their first line being their first line because of who they're playing against. And we knew that was going to happen eventually here. And the depth and the scoring that they've got from their other guys that I just mentioned has been great. Jackson Blake, another guy as well. But they can't have that first line kind of be non-existent on the score sheet if they're going to win this series.
No, I would 100% agree. I mean, that's the one thing about Vegas. They have a lot more true scorers than a lot of the teams that Carolina's played so far. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to keep up with that. Again, that's why I say if Carolina consistently plays their game, they're going to, keep the shots down for Vegas as well. And so it'll be interesting to see if Vegas gets frustrated. It's the same kind of way Colorado played, and Vegas took it to Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see. They've had a few days off now. These teams have been able to adjust and see. This first game is going to be very interesting to me.
Yeah, and can Vegas handle the stinginess and the stubbornness of Carolina's defense? I mean, that's the other thing it comes down to here. So we mentioned this off the top. We've had trouble with this, trying to figure it out what's reasonable. No, if you're going to suggest that I shave my beard, that's not happening. But we need to figure out Max Canes and Mike's Knights, what the bet is. And I need to get this done before, 5 o'clock here on the West Coast tonight, or is it 5:30? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's around there somewhere. 5
probably
o'clock.
Closer to 5. Yeah.
5 o'clock on the West Coast, which means it'll start at like 5:19 after we get the crank off in and the anthem and all that fun stuff. It's going to be a wild freaking scene there. ESPN, your home for both the NBA and the Stanley Cup Finals. And we've got to figure out the bet. So if you've got an idea out there, I'm a map checking in. If you've got an idea out there what the bet should be between Mac and myself, let us know. I'd like to finish that by the end of the show, and I don't want to bet a case of soda or beer here because that's boring and it doesn't interest me. So give me a prediction. What do you got for the series? We'll see if we can settle the bet later, and I'm sure this series might come back up later for one of us when we get to Liquid Locks.
It's a possibility.
Give me a pick.
You never.
Oh, don't sigh and him and haw like you're not sure what you're gonna pick. You are so full of shit sometimes it's unbelievable.
I know my pick. I just don't know the games. I'm going to say the Canes in 6.
Canes in 6. I have the Knights in 7. Oh, that's a cop out. That's a cop out. It's 7. Anybody can pick it. No, I legitimately think these two teams are that damn good, and the difference between the two of them is that slim that I could see this thing very much going 7 games. I do have a position where I have the Knights to win game 1 and the Knights to win the series, as well as a Knicks and Knights ticket. So I'm all about Vegas right here, which those of you that really know me, you're going, how could you possibly do that? Hey, I've always said this. My favorite team is my wallet. Mac, have I not said this on the show?
You have. I would like to put the first nugget up there, if you will. If the Canes win, you have to eat Raising Cane's for 30 days.
Oh God, who's gonna pay for that shit?
I don't know.
There is one person, if he's watching right now, that can talk about me and Raising Cane's kind of bets. I know Larry from Tom and Marty's inspired you on that one.
Yes, he did.
Raising Cane's. Oh my God, dude! I'm just thinking about how my body would feel after that. Hey, you know what? Most of the time I only eat once a day, though, so that might not be it. That might not be a bad thing. No, this is along the lines, Mama Mac, of me freaking.
Yes.
No. Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
That's like me shaving my beard. That's off limits. That and dog poop. There's 3 things that are off limits here. EG's, shaving my beard, and dog poop. I could say, like, make Mac grow a beard for the rest of the summer. That would be kind of interesting. But I don't think you'd do it.
I don't think I can. I think my body can. Yeah, she is.
No, she's not. I'm not going to show any more of her comments after that. I'd like to see Vegas Mac at the end of a 7-week playoff beard kind of thing. I think it'd be a good talking point on the show.
We can talk, but no.
Well, no, that one's out because the official word is
there
in.
you go.
I don't know who would annoy more, your wife or you. I got the Knights in 7. Can't wait to see it. More on this game here in a little bit. We do have an NBA Finals tomorrow, which we'll get into previewing that tomorrow. But let's talk about how we got here. I think what we saw in the San Antonio-Oklahoma City series was exactly what we expected and hoped we'd saw. It was about exactly how I thought that series was going to go, and it was kind of interesting because some of the fallout and what's happened here since then and some of the things that are being talked about are quite interesting. Encapsulate the Western Conference Finals for me. What did you think of them?
I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, the fact that San Antonio, I think, did 2 things that put them over the top. Number one, they stopped being the little brother, and they finally said, you know what? We're sick and tired of, if you want to flop, we're going to give you a reason to flop. Here's the reason. You know, we're gonna make sure it's not really a flop. We're just going to, you know, penetrate you into the court, and they just got more physical. The San Antonio just got more physical, and we talked about it before Game 7. San Antonio just shot the ball better in Game 7 than Oklahoma City, and we said that was probably going to be the difference, and it actually was. But I love the fact that San Antonio decided, you know what, we're going to turn our intensity up, and you mentioned it. It started in Game 6 when Wemby went out. He went. You said you saw him go down the line and say, you know, make him. I forget exactly what he said, but you know, make him
foul him hard.
Foul him hard. Yeah, and they did, and that I thought was the difference. San Antonio looked, even just in that one game, like they were more physical team, and Oklahoma City just kind of did not react well to that.
No, and then that's exactly it. I mean, Wemby literally turned into a hired hitman walking off the floor that night to all his bench players, and we saw Carter Bryant just literally like truck stick SGA before he got out of the game, and it was. I think that's the thing I appreciate the most, Mac, and we'll obviously get more into this when we preview the finals tomorrow. But San Antonio's ability to play old school basketball. And I kind of the point that I was sold on the Spurs being able to actually maybe get this thing done this year was they played a game, and I know we talked about this, and I can't remember exactly where it was on the calendar. I want to say like late January, early February. They were in Detroit, and that game got real chippy and real physical. And that was like the one thing that I was kept questioning about this San Antonio team was, could they play a physical brand of basketball if they were to play Detroit in the finals? And obviously Detroit decided to bow out before that, but it's seeing San Antonio play with a little bit of that old school mentality and being physical and like, hey, let's see how much we can get away with in the new day and age of the game. And I think that's it. And I think you nailed it perfectly. So let's flip the page a little bit here. What went wrong in your eyes for the Thunder?
I mean, it's hard to say anything really went wrong. I mean, you get to the conference finals. We all know that, that's one step away from where they are. But here's the bottom line. I think they have a few holes in that team, and this is an Oklahoma City team that has lots of assets. I think it's time to start using some of those assets and make this team even a little bit better. I think that you can't rest on where you are. We know they, as Jay said, they've got to be better. Like the season's a failure. I don't think it's a failure. I think it's a disappointment. But there's all these
no failure in sports.
Right. I mean, it's one of these things. Now you have all these assets. Go out and use them. Make your team better.
That's why you got to sign up for the newsletter, MikeAranaShow.com/links. I kind of talked a little bit specifically about that because I knew Mac wanted to mention that today. Like it's you've got 14 first-round draft picks, does Sam Presti, in between now and 2033. And I think because it's so fresh, I think there's been a little bit of a snap reaction to Chet, Abraham, Houdini, Holmgren not showing up for the series. But rightfully so. You're making $40 million. And I do believe what Mark Daigneault said and what SGA said. And they didn't throw him under the bus. Daigneault basically said, we're not the number one seed in the West for 2 years in a row without Chet. I do think that's true. SGA said, I'm not going to talk to Chet about what he needs to do in the offseason because I think what we have in Chet right now is the worst version we'll ever see of Chet Holmgren. And that's not exactly how he said it, and that sounds like it was kind of tongue-in-cheek there, but that was what he was saying, is basically like he had a horrible series. Nobody's going to deny that. Chet would probably be the first person to tell you that. But is it enough to overreact with? And with all those assets that you brought up, there's two ways to look at this. You're going to have 2 draft picks high in the draft this year. 2 young, talented players that you'll be able to control under contract for quite some time. But is now there an arms race to get, and that's why I used this quote, Giannis, there's no failure in sports. Mm-hmm. Maybe Giannis and SGA is the way to do it. And we also have to factor in the fact that J-Dub, Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, the one that normally plays for them, basically wasn't able to play most of the postseason. I think that had a lot to do with it too.
Like I said, you have to look. You got in essence 2 steps from where you wanted to be. You didn't get to the finals. You didn't win a championship. I'm not saying blow this team up, but I'm saying now's the time. Go and find those 1 or 2 pieces that you think where you need improvements that can push you over the edge. That's what you need to do. And you have the assets to do it. So don't sit on them, make use of them.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And it'll be interesting because Sam Presti has something that nobody else in the West has, and that's that plethora of draft picks and a plethora of young, talented players that could also be included. And listen, if you're going to go out and get Giannis and that's your answer to stopping Wemby, which it seems like that might be the only current answer to stopping him, oh my God, if you're Giannis right now, you're sitting here going, where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? Because I think if you're a team in the West right now, to get to the finals, you need Giannis because that's going to be the only thing right now that we know of that can slow down Wemby and what the Spurs team can do. But I think the thing that was most impressive, and this is a good spot for us to stop, about the Spurs in the series against the Thunder was the play of Dylan Harper, who wasn't 100% healthy the whole time. Stephon Castle had the turnover issues, but when De'Aaron Fox was playing, he didn't. And then we talked about it, Mac. We talked about it so much going into the playoffs. They needed the Harrison Barnes the Luke Cornets and the De'Aaron Foxes to be the difference makers for this team. You saw it at the end of Game 7, the very, very smart foul by De'Aaron Fox, the block from Luke Cornet when he had to come in when Wemby was in foul trouble. That, I think, it was the depth pieces of the Spurs that were able to get the job done against the depth pieces of the Thunder. That was what impressed me the most, and I think it's a great sign, as we'll talk about tomorrow previewing the NBA Finals. What impressed you with the Spurs the most?
I think you hit it a little bit, is the fact that even though they lost a lot of possessions to turnovers, they still got things done. And to me, especially at that level, they were turning the ball over a lot. Just imagine if they take half of those turnovers. A lot of those games that they lost, they probably end up winning. And so that's going to be, I think, again, looking forward to this series against the Knicks. It's one thing that the Knicks can do. The Knicks will turn you over. And that kind of is what fuels the New York Knicks, is their defense is going to fuel, if they get easy offensive opportunities and don't have to shoot the ball as much, it's going to be a good thing for the Knicks. So for me, that's the thing, that the Spurs were able to get it done, even if they probably weren't their best offensive units.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll preview the NBA Finals on tomorrow's show with Game 1 of the Finals tomorrow night from San Antonio. We'll also obviously have some thoughts on Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight, as well as some of our other stuff that we typically do. But it is Tuesday, so that means it's time to go around the diamond. And before we do that, I wanted to say happy anniversary, 15th anniversary, to Armando Galarraga. On this date, he threw the only 28 out perfect game in Major League Baseball history. Have you ever watched the... I believe it was a 30 for 30 that they did. It's something on ESPN about that whole thing, and Jim Joyce and Galarraga. Fascinating freaking show. I watched it again the other day for some reason. 15 years ago today that happened. In the D, the 28 out perfect game. But if we're talking about baseball, Mac, that means we have to start with a rotation. And I believe at this point, Vegas Mac's rotation has some hardware to give out. Do explain.
Absolutely. We're at the quarter mark of the season, so let's give out our awards. So if things were to end right now, this is how I see it. We're going to start in the American League. My American League MVP would go to Ben Rice of the New York Yankees. 302 average, 17 home runs, and 44 RBIs. Over in the National League, no, it would be Ronald Acuna, though he's making his way there. It would be Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. That would be my MVP of the National League. My Cy Young Award winner will start in the National League. It's going to stay with the same team. It's going to be Chris Sale. 8 wins, an ERA just under 2, 80 strikeouts. I absolutely love what Chris Sale has done. Cam Schittler, yeah, that's right, of the New York Yankees. He would be my Cy Young Award winner in the American League. Your boy, we have Pawa Murakami. He would be my Rookie of the Year. I know he's out for a little bit. That's going to stop his threat for all those home runs. In the National League, my Rookie of the Year would be Sal Stewart. And my Manager of the Year, I'm going a co-Manager of the Year in the American League. Yes, I'm going on the fence. It's both Kevin Cash and Will Venable. And in the National League, it's Walt Weiss.
Interesting point there you brought up on Matt Olson. I mean, I don't know if, and I asked T this question on Lunchtime Live a couple of weeks ago. Gave him 3 scenarios. National League pennant, World Series, Matt Olson MVP. And, I think what's getting lost here in this is, and maybe it's because he's hitting 261. I get it, all you baseball nerds. Oh, batting average isn't the most accurate. Shut up. Batting average still tells you a lot of a guy's capabilities of being able to put bat on ball. Matt Olson, whose name very likely will come up a little bit later in the program, we're looking at a season, if he continues at this pace and stays healthy, it's another 120 RBI season for Matt Olson. I mean, you can't put a value on what Olson does for that Braves team. And like you said, and I'm not going to mention his name yet because we're going to talk about him in a second, Ronald Acuna's started to play well. Michael Harris, nobody's talking about how great of a year Michael Harris has been. And it was kind of interesting because, remember, we got to our fantasy draft and I was asking you guys about some scenarios and everything. And we went back and forth on Michael Harris. And my friend that I do the league with, he goes, what do you think of Harris? And I go, I love Michael Harris. I always have been. And last year is not indicative of the kind of player that Michael Harris is. Walt Weiss has tinkered with this lineup a lot. He's going Acuna, Harris, Olsen right off the top. Dude, that is murderer's row to start, especially with Acuna getting back in there. Olsen, I'm glad you brought him up because I don't think he's getting enough love for what he's doing right now.
Yeah, those are the three. I actually put, my top four for each award, and three of the four in the National League are from Atlanta. I put Olsen, Harris, and I put Acuna. And he got off to a slow start, but man, oh man, he's kind of really picked it up. The other one I had in there, and again, you talked about low batting average, is Carl Schwarber. But I mean, he's getting it done with the power numbers. So again. That's kind of we have. The American League one was interesting to me because I picked Ben Rice. I like what he's done. The other one, who other people will probably say is probably Yordan Alvarez, and he was right there as well. But I went with Rice just because the Yankees are doing better than the Astros right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into what we saw this past weekend here. I'm going to let you start. Give me your most impressive from last week.
Well, I'm going to stay right with the Atlanta Braves, and it's Ronald Acuna's world, and we're just living in it right now. It started on a Thursday in Boston with a grand slam.
Has that ball landed yet?
No, good God. It started with that grand slam in Boston, and he's just continued. It's power. It's stolen bases. You watch him, and it's like the injuries have hurt him obviously over the last couple of years, but he might be honestly the most dynamic player in baseball when he's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about him quite a bit on the show. I love watching Ronnie play. The dude, he does not. No home run Ronald Acuna hits is cheap. They're absolute just missiles, just absolute missiles. Like, he hurts baseballs big time.
Yes.
And it's been a lot of fun to watch him. Mac, I had a hard time with like my most impressive stuff from last weekend because there's been some wild shit going on in baseball right now. Favorite thing I saw last weekend, the St. Louis crowd chanting overrated at Pete Crow Armstrong, and then he goes and blasts a home run into the tarps off section out in St. Louis there. It was like, I love when that happens. Like, it's got to be the biggest flex as a professional athlete. Like, if you're a baseball player and you're at the plate and they're chanting overrated and you just hit a piss missile somewhere deep into the bleachers, that's got to be the coolest friggin' feeling of the world. I mentioned this one a little bit earlier. Texas and Kansas City played last weekend. And Texas has these alternate powder blue jerseys. Well, so do the Royals, obviously. And some dumbass decided that we were going to wear these throughout the duration of the weekend. So as I've got it on second screen or on the MLB Big Inning thing, which I love, by the way. Yes. I wish it was on all day long. Unfortunately, it's not. It's the only way I can actually catch any of the Padres games now. But I had a hard time figuring out who the hell was who watching it on the second screen this weekend because they just kept alternating powder blue jerseys. Like, can we not do that in the future? Because I'm going to be honest with you, with the good baseball that was on last weekend, I wasn't going to make Rangers Royals anything that was on a prime viewing spot.
Right.
Dumbass decision. The other thing, and I believe it was Sunday's game, if I remember correctly. And I told you I was going to do this last weekend, and it failed miserably, so, egg on my face. But the Yankees' power circus was headed to Coors Field of California. So I was going to bet 3 Yankees to home run every game. First day, I missed it by 1. You know who sold me out? Aaron freaking Judge. The second day, nowhere close. The third day, I backed off of it. And the Yanks dropped 13 runs in 1 inning on the Nomads without hitting a damn home run in Sacramento. So as much as I was impressed with it because they didn't have to hit a home run to score 13 in 1 inning, I'm like, how in the hell did they score 13 runs in 1 inning in Sacramento without hitting a home run? I was like mind blown. I sat here just like staring at the TV for like 10 minutes. I'm like, there's no way they go through this whole inning they went through the whole damn inning without a home run. But in the scores lately, Mac, the offense has been insane. The Giants scored 19 on Sunday in Colorado. Not that that's a feat, because then they followed it up by getting their asses kicked in Milwaukee last night, giving up 16. But the offense is really starting to hit that it must be June kind of upswing, which is great for people that like betting home runs and stuff like that, like we do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're starting to see a little bit of the guys, and I've noticed. I've kind of been on this WBC kick where guys have had who were in the WBC weren't playing good. You're starting to see them pick it up a little bit, and so it just goes back to wonder if it just they ramped up too fast or whatnot. But someone like, well, I don't want to give it away because again, we may see him here real soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at the schedule for this week. There's some interesting stuff going on in baseball. Obviously, we had some games last night, but we got some new series starting today. One I'm going to be very interested to see, Phillies and Padres. Both of those teams have played better as of late, but kind of still hovering around that 500 mark. Some fun stuff coming up there. Obviously, some names that are going to come up. Give me a series or a matchup or both that you're looking forward to on the schedule for this week in Major League Baseball.
And this weekend, Cincinnati at St. Louis. Cincinnati starting to lose touch. They're the only team that's kind of a few more games behind, so that's interesting. In St. Louis, these young Cardinals continue to play very, very well. So that's kind of the one that I'm looking at.
I've got a couple, actually. One for my own humor. I said this a couple weekends ago when the White Sox were in San Francisco, so now I'm going to go to Chicago again against San Francisco, but I'm going to go with the Cubs and their offense against the Giants' god-awful pitching this weekend. It starts actually at 11:20 a.m. on Friday.
Yep.
And look, we don't have a show on Friday. I guess I'll be watching that. I'm going to be looking at weather reports desperately because I need to see this Cubs offense take a tick up here. And we've got all day games, Cubs and Giants there, except for, unfortunately, I apologize now to all of the country on Sunday Night Baseball. Not just this week, folks. For the next 2 weeks, the Giants are on Sunday Night Baseball. The worst part of it is next weekend on Sunday Night Baseball, or Sunday afternoon baseball. It's on ABC, which is kind of cool to see, but Giants and Cubs, I'm definitely watching. For something that actually kind of matters, Seattle's in Detroit this weekend. Detroit coming off of a god-awful, terrible month of May. They have a hot Seattle team who's just taken over. We were just talking about them, taking over the division. I believe the series starts on Friday with Brian Wu and Framber Valdez, if I remember correctly. Yes, I did.
Yep.
Then we've got the Miller-Montero matchup, which means is it Miller and Castillo against Montero, which doesn't make it easier for the Tigers. And then on Sunday in the series finale, oh no, Castillo is slated to pitch Sunday, so there's the answer to that question. The Tigers have to win this series. If they have any chance of getting back into absolutely anything here, they need to win a series. They need to do it against a good team. You'll say, well, Mike, they just beat Tampa Bay last night. They did, 10-9. And they almost blew a 6-run lead in doing so. Everything about this Tigers team is just terrible right now. So that's the one I'm going to watch for good baseball purposes. The other one I'm going to watch just for my own humor is watching the Giants get their ass kicked this weekend in Chicago. And hopefully that leads to a lot of offense for me.
There's another sneaky series that's pretty good, and that's the Nationals at the Diamondbacks. That's, again, two of those young teams that are kind of playing a little bit under the radar. They talked to they're talking to Arizona. They're talking to Torey Lovello about how he's got to do better against better teams. Win last night against the Dodgers will definitely help, but again, two of those teams that are both making cases to be wild card contenders.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see the Diamondbacks actually get through their next 7 games with a winning record. Again, I'm not gonna salivate over the Diamondbacks who spent half a month playing the Rockies and the freaking Giants. Last night, as you mentioned, obviously a good thing as far as what's going on with Arizona, but I need to see a little bit bigger of a sample size before I'm going to believe this Diamondbacks team is actually for real here. So let's get into some of our favorite things to do at the end of the show. Look at that. I almost hit this dead on the time number, man.
Yeah,
it must
be summertime. That's pretty good. There you go.
On schedule and on point around here is what we do. Let's get into what is also something we do in the summer. We do dingers on Tuesdays and on Fridays. So we'll start with TJ's play. Again, TJ will be back with us on Thursday, but tonight he's going to the aforementioned Diamondbacks-Dodgers game, and Eric Lauer on the bump for the Dodgers, and he's going with a Diamondback who's kind of having a rebirth, if you will. Nolan Arenado. He's going with Nolan Arenado for a home run tonight against Eric Lauer. Mac, give me a home run hit for tonight. Who do you got and why? As I build this in my phone.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to go to the Seattle Mariners, and we mentioned him just a little bit, how he's not having a superstar year. He's having a good year. I'm going to go with Julio Rodriguez. I think, let's see, they are playing
Huskar Brazovan tonight for the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's the New York Mets, right? I mean, we got to get something from the Mets.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. We got a boost. Damn, this one pays a lot of money. That's usually not a good sign. That usually means that we're not going to hit it because it's got way too high odds. All right. I'm going to go with one Matthew Olson of the Braves, who we were talking about earlier. He gets Kevin Gausman tonight of the Blue Jays. He's got 2 home runs against Gausman in his career. So if you put those 3 guys together, able to boost it to a 188.93. So your dollar is going to pay you damn near $200. Olson's a plus 389, Rodriguez a plus 401, Nolan Arenado a plus 521. Again, dollar on each guy, dollar on the 3 together. We've done 2 out of 3 lots of times, never done the 3 out of 3. To quote TJ, is tonight the night? Maybe, maybe not. It'll be on second screen in my house, which means there's one more thing left to do before we do Ticket Tuesday. Actually, let's do Ticket Tuesday first, and then we'll do Local Blocks after that. How's that sound?
Right.
Take me on a ticket tour, Vegas, Mac.
Righty. Let's go. Let's start with, how about some baseball? Let's go with there. We've got a couple of good deals. We've got, later today, we got Colorado at Los Angeles, $6. I always try to find some decent matchups. This is a good one. How about Wednesday? The Cleveland Guardians at the New York Yankees, just $9 to get into that one. That, my friends, is a pretty good deal. I took a look at the first 3 games. NHL Stanley Cup versus the NBA Championship. Game number 1 tonight to get you in, $852, which is a bargain compared to the NBA, which is just over $1,100. Game 2, $952 versus $1,300. And then we switch. Game 3, Vegas and New York. Game 3 at Vegas, $2,050. Or at the Garden, $4,172. Mike, I don't think we'll be going to any of those games. However,
because we can't hit dollar dingers plays, otherwise
right.
We could pay for all these things.
Now listen, this next part, this is what I like. Opening week of the CFL, that's the Canadian Football League. It doesn't matter which game you go to. The best ticket price is $32. See, that's how it should be. See, they do have it right in Canada. They've got it right. $32 each place. No ticket gouging there. It's the same for no matter to where you go. NASCAR this week in Michigan. The Firekeeper Casino, $570 to get into that one. The Memorial, a little expensive this week, $220 to get into the Memorial Tournament. Oh, man.
You
Not
know
a lot of great...
the Memorial, I'm glad you brought that up. You know that's the only course that Rory McIlroy's played over 10 times and he's never won on? I mean, I might be saying that for a specific reason or two, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. I'm not surprised that tickets to the Memorial are high, though. It's a good time to be at Muirfield Village and take in a good summer tournament. This one will be fun. There's a lot of heavy hitters in it. Mike versus Mac tomorrow.
Yeah.
You brought up the ticket prices. Obviously, that's a big talking point for everybody in the finals right here. Where is it? All right. Things you can buy instead of 2 courtside NBA Finals tickets at Madison Square Garden. You ready for this?
Yeah, a house.
148,750 New York City hot dogs.
Goodness gracious.
I don't get this phenomenon because I think it's disgusting. It doesn't look appetizing. just like smash burgers. I don't know why pounding the freaking guts out of a burger took over in this country, but 59,500 chopped cheeses, 156,167 slices of New York City pizza. Now here we go. 29,750 craft beers inside of Madison Square Garden. 198,000 subway rides. This will get a lot of people riled up, and I think it's hilarious. You can buy 8,750 tickets to see the Yankees play. Wait for it. You can buy 15,657 tickets to watch the Mets play. You can buy 3 Maybachs or 1 mansion in Oklahoma City. Out of that, what would you take if you could buy any of those for that price?
I would take the New York pizza without a doubt.
156,000 people. Maybe that's what we should have you eat. 100,000 pieces of New York pizza when Vegas wins.
Ay, goodness.
I got an idea for it.
All right.
But you got to come up with the equal. So, and if we're gonna commit to this, and you can't think of the equal, then we need to declare this before 5:00 tonight. We can share it on the show tomorrow. But I'll tell you what, I will eat. I believe the. And again, if there's one person watching this, he's going to laugh his ass off. But I will throw down in one sitting 4 Caniac combos if the Canes beat the Knights. That's the one that's got, like, I think the 3 pieces of chicken. And here's the thing. I don't do slaw, and I don't do cane sauce, so that's not a part of this. It's double fries, Texas toast, and the chicken. We don't mess with no slaw. I don't do no slaw around here, bruh. So I'll eat 4 Caniac combos in one sitting.
Oh my gosh.
It'll probably be the last show we ever do because I'll probably die while I'm doing it. But hey, what do we say on the show all the time? Whatever we got to do for the show, right? You got to come up with an equal there, though.
All right.
And we might as well just keep it food related. So.
All right. I'll think Vegas food. Let me think about it.
I'm not an expert on Cane's. So there are 16 pieces of Cane's chicken. I think it's 4 pieces of Texas toast and 4 double orders of fries. So there you go. I can do it. All right. I can do it. I'm probably going to hate myself for like a week after that, but I can do it.
I'll get to you on that.
It's got to be food related.
All right, food related. Vegas food.
All right. Let's go into let's go into some liquid locks here to finish up the show. Oh my God, Jesus! Why do we have to be technical about everything? That's what I said. 4 double orders of fries. Okay, hey, listen. I'm in my mid-40s now. There's no time limit on this shit. It'll be one sitting. I will not get up. I will not go to the bathroom. I will not do any of that. Don't get up till they're done. If not, I will concede and wear all Carolina Hurricanes gear.
There you go.
I would wear that shit anyways. Yeah, now that I'm all thrown off. I'm going to post this not because I am. I'm just going to throw this just because it's funny if you think of it. The chicken shit would be pretty nasty. All right, let's get into some liquid locks. Give me 2 of your favorite plays from today, whether that goes on the ice or not on the ice, however you want to do it.
We're going to stay on the baseball diamond tonight. I got Kevin Gausman under 5.5 strikeouts. He has been under his strikeout line in 9 of his last 10 starts. He's also under his total in 5 of his 5 road starts this year. And the Braves have the 7th lowest strikeout rate against righties this season. I like that one. Under 5.5 strikeouts for Kevin Gausman tonight. My other one, I'm going with Jarren Duran. He's been on a little bit of a heater. I'm taking him with my favorite bet, 3+ runs, RBIs, and hits. Just needs a home run.
Oh, yeah, just needs a home run. If they were that damn easy, we'd be going to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Plus 342 if you put Gausman and Duran together. I'm going to go back to the diamond and on the ice. One guy I mentioned, one guy I didn't, but equally as hot as Ronald Acuna lately is Bryce Harper. They get the Padres tonight. Randy Vasquez on the bump for the Padres in Philadelphia at the bank. And Harper, 3 for 5 with a home run in his career off of Randy Vasquez. So I'm going with Mike's man crush, Bryce Harper, to leave the building tonight in Philadelphia to continue to stay hot for them. And I already mentioned the other guy, Mitchell Marner. I think he's been waiting for this moment, and a lot of people have. Toronto's been waiting for this moment for a long time, so maybe vicariously through Mitch Marner winning a cup, Toronto can say they kind of won a cup. Not really, you losers. But I'm going to go with Marner to score a goal tonight. I think he's the key to the series. I think his play and he's right here now. He's at a doorstep that's been impossible to get to. I think we're going to see a whole nother level of Mitchell Marner unlocked tonight, despite the stingy Carolina defense. I really do. That's the one thing I want people to leave today's show with that don't know it. I don't think it's being properly understood how just dynamic both of these teams are and how great this final series is going to be and how great it's going to be to see Vegas win Game 1 tonight. Do you have any final thoughts today?
I will not be surprised if Vegas goes in and wins Game 1. I will not be worried if Vegas wins Game 1. I think this is going to be a fun Stanley Cup. I think whichever team can impose can continuously put their stamp on the game is going to win. If Carolina can continue to play their way, they're going to be okay. Vegas is going to have to make some adjustments because even though they're like Colorado, they're a little more of a possession team than Colorado is. Colorado, from a kind of like put it like a basketball, they're kind of like a fast breaking team. They want to get up and down the ice. Carolina doesn't necessarily need to get up and down the ice. They're more of that possession team. They're the team they want to control their time in the zone. So they are a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that's it, and I can't wait to see it tonight. We'll be watching that West Coast time, 5 o'clock, with some side screen baseball. TJ will be back with us Thursday, myself and Mac tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you're tuning in for the first time going, why are we on Tuesdays? Summertime, man. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 11:30 to 1-ish like today when we feel like getting done. For everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, for Vegas, Mac, and Mike, we'll talk with you tomorrow. Enjoy Game 1, the Stanley Cup Finals. Until then, we're out.